Hi trackies, welcome back to another video. Please remember to smash that subscribe button, hit the like button as well. That's how the video gets to the YouTube algorithm. Share the video if you care. I hope y'all care, so share. And yes, please sound off in the comment section below. Diamond League Finals is here. Comes up tomorrow, the 27th and also the 28th of August, Wednesday and Thursday trackies. And to be fair, it's mainly on Thursday. The main program, which is practically almost every event, is on Thursday. We will see a few events on field events that is come up on Wednesday, but outside of that trackies, as I said, the main program comes up on Thursday. And yeah, a lot of top flight athletes are not competing, so the events are kind of watered down, especially from a sprint perspective. However, track is we do have some intrigue happening from a Jamaican perspective and major interest, because in the men's 100 meters and the women's 100 meters, there's major opportunities for our Jamaican athletes. So let's dive into it, and let's start with the men in the 100 meters. And we have our Jamaican Ackeem Blake that lines up here. He's the defending champion for the men for this particular event. He actually won in 2024, and I can remember that particular race, because I remember before it was itching in my skin to do a video and say, hey, you know what, Ackeem Blake can win this Diamond League Finals. However, given how terrible things were going for Jamaica, I was like, listen, I don't want to jinx it, you know what I mean? Let me just sit back and watch, and hopefully Ackeem Blake will pull it off. And he definitely did, and I was really, really thrilled. So coming into 2025, clearly he has the ability to turn up and win one of these major titles. So for the men in this 100 meters, he lines up against Jeremiah Azul from Great Britain, as well as Trayvon Bromell, Christian Coleman, and Brandon Hicklin. They're from America. Then we have from South Africa, Sean Masinwangani, Abakani Simbine, and Bayanda Walaza, right? So these are the athletes that line up. As I said, most of the top flight athletes, are not here. But one thing of note is that Ackeem Blake has been pretty much in all of the high profile, 100-meter races so far this season, has been running, with the best of the best. So he's well seasoned and well prepared, to come into this event and potentially pull off, win in again, right? And I definitely think he can win, given the field again. In his most recent, outing, he would have been second. Yes, the second is still on my mind. I mean, third in the men's 100 meters behind Oblique Seville and of course Noah Lyles. So clearly, his execution is, getting back there, right? And as I said, I do see him as somebody that is getting back into 9/8 by the time he gets to the World Championships. And that execution actually, given how horrible the weather was, could have been, like a 9 low performance, in my opinion. So with that being said, Ackeem Blake heads into this, I believe, as heavy favorite to win this men's 100 meters. Right now, I think the biggest challenge comes from Christian Coleman. Like, I'm looking at the names there. Brandon Hicklin can give me a one-off good run. You know what I mean? But he's not consistent enough for me to, put my finger on him and say, yeah, he's going to, surprise. Or even a Trayvon Bromell, right? These athletes can really give me, a one-off good performance. When can we expect it? I can't really say. So they could very well give me that one-off good performance, in the men's 100 meters and spoil things for Ackeem Blake. However, it's not likely, in my opinion, again, given their inconsistency, right? So the biggest threat, I think, and his season has really come on, since the USA Championships, and that is Christian Coleman. He ran in that, event, that men's 100 meters in Silesia. Again, the best in the world were there. We are talking about Kishane Thompson. We're talking about, Noah Lyles, and also as well, the American, 100-meter champion as well, Kenny Benerick, was in the lineup. And, he was only behind those three. He was fourth, in that lineup. And I was actually surprised, how well he ran in that men's 100 meters. So I said, he looks like he's getting back some life. You know what? His performances look like they're coming together. So I'm like, okay. All right. Maybe, I'm not writing him off completely, because I'm telling you, based on what I've been seeing from him, or especially early on in the year, it's like, all right, Christian Coleman looks like he's done, but he's definitely come back, towards the end of the season. And I appreciate seeing that. So I think he's one of those ones that will be challenging Ackeem Blake. And it's so funny, because when they get it right, and I'm talking both Ackeem Blake and Christian Coleman, they're, extremely masterful over that men's 100 meters, right? Then they pretty much have the same running style in terms of really, really good start and then they tend to fade towards the end, of the race, right? So, and I mean, Christian Coleman isn't, in 9-7 shape like his personal best suggests, right? So if we're looking at that 9-8-6 versus that 9-8-8, at their best with similar running styles, as I said, really good starts, especially given what I saw from Ackeem Blake, I definitely think, it will be a challenge, that Ackeem Blake should be expecting to come from, Christian Coleman. I mean, don't get me wrong, he should be looking at the whole field, absolutely. But I definitely think the main challenge comes from, Christian Coleman. Also, Akani Simbine. I don't know. I was looking at him in his last outing trackies, and again, I don't know what's going on with his last phase, in the races that I've been watching recently, right? So typically he's not the best starter. Let's put it that way, right? But he has really ridiculous stopping, and you see him come on towards the end of the race. I haven't been getting that in his recent races. So I'm just gonna go out there and say he suffered some kind of injury. He had to suffer some kind of injury because I don't know what's going on with, Akane Simbine, not what is typical of him. So even though he would be the main challenger for me in races gone by, given what I'm seeing, now presently, I'm like, okay, no, not Akane Simbine. And then there's the youngster Bayanda Walaza that may pull off, one impressive, race. So I'm definitely keeping my eye on him as well. But I think for sure that it's between Ackeem Blake and Christian Coleman. And of course, I'm going with Ackeem Blake for the win. You mad? Stay mad, right? So Akeem Blake for me, let's see how it goes. As I said, has a very good chance of defending, and that is the men in the 100 meters that comes up on Thursday, right? So let's jump into the women because, yeah, this one is very, very interesting, and a lot of Jamaicans are mad. They're mad. They're mad at Julian Alfred. They're like, Julian, why you couldn't, don't compete yourself, right? Or, some may think, why you never just go running at the 200? Why you have to run here? So, why you have to run in the 100? But I'm laughing to myself and I'm like, Jamaicans are crazy. You know what I mean? How dare we think that athletes should just pull out of events to suit us? I think that's a little crazy, trackies. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Right. So in this women's lineup, we have our Tia Clayton. Now, Tia Clayton unfortunately did not qualify to represent Jamaica in the women's 100 meters at the World Championships. Picked up an injury at our national championships, and yeah, pretty much took her out of any chances and hopes of qualifying. However, the opportunity arises because of this Diamond League 100-meter final where she can get a wild card. Problem is, Julian Alfred, the Olympic champion, the second fastest athlete this season, 10.75, is also in the lineup as well. Now, we also have Dina Asher-Smith from Great Britain, from New Zealand, Zoe Hobbs, from Switzerland, Salome, Cora, Mia McCoy from the United States of America, and Jesha Shears. Then we have Talou Smith, Marie-Jose Talou Smith, that is, from the Ivory Coast, and then we have Patricia van der Weekend from Luxembourg, right? So this is the women's 100-meter lineup, and straight out the bat, I'm gonna say clearly it is between Julian Alfred and Tia Clayton, and I see a lot of people saying, you know what, it's over and done, for Tia Clayton when it comes to this women's 100 meters because the Olympic champion Julian Alfred is in the lineup, and she's just gonna destroy her. You know what I mean? And there's no chance. However, not so fast. Not so fast. Because, what I find interesting, as I said, is that the hope for Jamaicans, was that, and I'm not gonna lie, for me personally, before, the start list was announced, I was, keeping my fingers crossed that we would have the likes of Melissa Jefferson Wooden and of course, Julian Alfred not turn up in this women's 100 meters so that, Tia Clayton would have a better opportunity of qualifying. That said, Melissa isn't there clearly, right? And Julian Alfred is in the lineup. But I can't be mad at, Julian Alfred being in the lineup because the reality is that, Tia Clayton is training to win. Like when you hear these athletes speak, and sometimes I do find them a little ridiculous because I remember back in, I believe this was 2023 when I was listening to Natasha Morrison speak about, her, representing and what her hopes are and plans are for herself. And she talked about winning. And I was like, okay, Natasha, let's be real here. That's not happening. But the reality is that these athletes are out here to win. They're training to win, right? And if Tia Clayton has any hope of going to the world championships, which in her mind she's going to the world championship to win, she would know that she would face off against Melissa Jefferson and also Julian Alfred. And if you want to win, then clearly you have to defeat these athletes. So this is a perfect opportunity for Tia Clayton, since as again all these athletes in their minds are heading out there to win, to turn up and take down one of the people that will be standing in your way if you want to win, at the world championships, right? Now, given what I've seen from Julian Alfred so far, I think she, stands the possibility of heading into, 10-6. Will she head into 10-6 in this race? I'm not sure. I see people saying, hey, she's just going to, wait until the world championships, to run her best. She won't be, giving certain signs, especially to Melissa Jefferson Wooden, that she's coming and she's capable of, 10-6. Let's just surprise her. You know what I mean? So that's the thought process for many. And honestly, if she remains in 10-7, definitely I think, the challenge is on where Tia Clayton can challenge her, in my opinion, once it's 10-7. If it's 10-6, I'm not necessarily thinking, that far. Don't get me wrong. Listen, I've seen, Stranger Things, and I've seen where, MVP has surprised time and time again. So even though I'm saying these things, you never know. Maybe she can possibly run a 10-6. But that said, I'm still, charting in my mind at 10-7. And if you look at how, Tia has been running all season, her first 100 meters of the season, 10-9. You know what I mean? So she's been right there, progressing the right way all season before the injury. And at the national championships, 10-7, was definitely on the cards, for her. As I said, potentially faster for some people, given what they were seeing from her. So 10-7 is not beyond a Tia Clayton. No. If I go back through the season and I'm charting what I've seen from a Tina Clayton, right, her progress for this season was always behind what was happening with a Tia Clayton. So if I'm charting Tina Clayton by the World Championships to be running mid 10-7s, what's that saying about Tia Clayton? It's saying that Tia Clayton has to be ready to run 10-7 low. No, I'm not saying running 10-7 low is easy, right? But she, in my opinion, as far as progression for 2025, at least before the injury, would be running faster, than a Tina Clayton. So if I'm saying these things, I'm like, okay, hold up, wait a minute. 10-7 low means that we're definitely in the runnings. And listen, this is Tia Clayton's moment, because if she doesn't win here, there's no chance of her, running at the World Championships. So she's going to have to come out here and run her absolutely best race. And you know what track is? Going back, to that race where she was second behind Melissa Jefferson Wooden, where she ran her personal best, 10.82 seconds. She said something very interesting. She said, I've been working on my start a lot, right? But I didn't get it right here. And I said to myself, first race back from injury, and we kind of falter in our start and we still run 10.82. So you mean if you tell me so you could have run 10-7 right there, so in your first race back from injury? Look here, trackies. Do not underestimate Tia Clayton. She's coming. As long as she hits that execution, and she will be right beside, because they put her on the outside in her last outing. So my assumption is that she's be right beside, Julian Alfred, in this particular race. Listen, she will be running and gunning, for that win, and may the best woman win. But Tia Clayton definitely has a chance of taking down Julian Alfred. And let me tell you something. If she takes down Julian Alfred here, oh my gosh, I don't know what I will do. I'll probably roll and boom flick. I've been so, excited, but not just for the Diamond League, of course, and her being able to represent Jamaica at the World Championships, but what that really would mean for her representing, Jamaica, at the World Championships in the 100 meters, and our positioning, because a lot of people are like, listen, we're only challenging for bronze at this particular moment. But if Tia Clayton can win here, so we're starting to say, and not just brands in the track is and not just brands, right? We can move up a notch. Right? So I'm excited to see that. Also I'm looking out to see Mary Jose Talou Smith. I definitely think she comes through here. Third-ish, but I definitely think she will, have a challenge from Ajacia Shears in this women's 100 meters. So I think I will, chart that up to be my top 4. Dina Asher Smith didn't really give me what I was hoping to see in her last outing. Let's see if she can, pull that off here and be in, what are we, 5th-ish in this women's 100 meters. So yeah, that's my thought process for the sprints, and of course Jamaican, or on the possibilities. The time is now for Tia Clayton. She wants to be the champion at the end of the day at the World Championships. So guess what? We have to take down Julian Alfred right now. Is she ready? I think she can. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video, of course, and subscribe to the channel. Try keys. I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye.